people had dogs. They had big dogs. As sure as I'm looking at what I see right now, so I'm walking. I'm like, oh my gosh. I kid you not, you guys. Thank God I had my grandfather's umbrella. And with that long black umbrella, I had to poke and step. It was either eaten or beaten. I was not going to be a dog's Alpo that day. So I had to fight. I just had my umbrella just sticking, and because the dog was like, arr, 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 arr. And then the owner finally came out the house. I don't know where the owner was. Obviously, he didn't have his door locked.
You're an awesome person. I'm sitting here taking notes.
I feel like you're awesome, and I just love your style.
Your bear principle hits it right on the nail. That bear effect is there.
For sure.
That's also the bear effect.
Wow, nice. I gotta ring a bell for you. Yes.
Your bear factor is that too. I would like to have a house, a car, a family, a dog. The bear, the bear comes out.
Literally.
Put that right next to bear. Put that right next to bear. And by the way, that was a crazy scene from that movie. That bear scene. Woo.
Без резких движений. Вот так, все. Есть. Нормально, все в порядке. Мы хорошо. Ебать.
Because guess what? Your thoughts could be faulty. Your mind could be playing tricks on you. Mold is very toxic. If you have a moldy mindset, it's toxic. You're operating in ignorance. And if you have a toxic mentality, you cannot be a successful business owner.
You toxic.
Yeah, I be tripping. I ain't gonna lie.
And you're not able to grow effectively as you should.
Tell me about it.
And so I love the concept of the mold and being toxic.
Hello, my urbanites. Welcome to the Urban Suite with Dr. Lisa LaCon. I have to say, I do not have much of a voice tonight, so I sound somewhat sultry, but that's all right. We'll be right back because we have something in store for you tonight in the Urban Suite. Stay with us. You are entering the Urban Suite with Dr. Lisa LaCon. Let's talk about urban issues plaguing our community. Let's talk about mental health. Let's talk about sex. Let's talk about urban issues plaguing our community with Dr. Lisa LaCon. I am back. So listen, tonight, we have a huge show. So we're talking about de-escalation techniques when confronted by the police. We're going to talk about Buffalo, New York, what happened in Buffalo, New York, as well as something local in New Jersey, the fire. So we have special guests. We have Rick Maldonado, who is a former Newark policeman. He was a lieutenant. And then we have my very own pastor, Pastor Melvin E. Wilson from St. Matthew AME Church from Orange, New Jersey. And then we're going to talk about some other things. Again, I'm so sorry. I don't have much of a voice. I went to the Sting concert and I should have behaved myself accordingly, but I did not. I could not. I refused not. It was my first concert in, oh my goodness, since I would say 3 years or so. Anyway, we're here and we have some big stuff coming up after this. All right. For those who are new to Urban Twos for Change, this is our missing person segment. Every week, I will highlight someone missing, as well as some good news and unfortunately some sad news. So let's bring up our sad news. So our sad news update is Fernando Enrique Braga. His body was found and we have to report that they did find his body, and I am praying for his family. I send my condolences. We actually highlighted him during our Meekness show. And again, this is really sad news that they found Fernando Enrique Braga. They found the remains of his body. So my prayers are with his family, and hopefully they can have some solace and peace. So our missing person for this evening is Nina Michelle Rose. Nina has been missing since April the 27th, 2022 from Inglewood, California. Listen, I gotta raise my voice for this one. You Californians, wake up. I need you to share. I need you to like. Definitely spread the word. She is missing. She's 25 years old. She's a female. She's Black. Her complexion is medium. She's 5'5". 120 pounds, brown hair color, long length, and her eye color is brown. She was last seen in the 4200 block of West Century Boulevard in Inglewood, California on April the 27th, 2022. Anyone with information of her whereabouts, please contact Inglewood Police Department at area code 424-227-0397. Again, that's area code 424-227-0397. Or you can contact Black and Missing Foundation at 877-97-BAMFI. Let's bring Nina Michelle Rose home.
We called bluff against a machine that wanted to bully me for not wavering from my personal beliefs. A machine that has corporate interests to protect prostitutes. This machine, this thing, secured and it poses a threat to the machine's sole intention to mislead the public and malicious towards a machine that glorifies a lifestyle, a machine that clearly influences or invasion of privacy when these machines have pushed this lifestyle on us for profit. This machine never wanted my money. Challenge a machine that protects their corporate interests. This machine tried to squeeze us for everything. Fighting machines with endless money protecting their investments. This machine has tried to have me arrested, and no machine will ever stop me.
Come quietly or there will be trouble.
Put it out. It's gossip, bitch. Okay.
So listen, we are sponsored by Blessed Ministries Incorporated. The Urban Suite is sponsored by Blessed Ministries Incorporated. We are the premier workforce development agency in the state of New Jersey. And we work with various populations to get them employed, you guys. We work with those under the supervision of parole. We work with adults with disabilities. We work with youth with disabilities, like teens with disabilities. We work with those impacted by opioids in the state of New Jersey, as well as those that are receiving like food stamps and things of that nature. We do put people to work. All right, so we have heard and seen some really devastating news out of Buffalo, New York. And unfortunately, I did have the opportunity to see the video. So let's pull up the news about what has occurred in Buffalo, and then we're going to talk a little bit about that.
Developing story. Authorities in Buffalo, New York say an 18-year-old motivated by hate killed 10 people and wounded 3 others in a mass shooting he live streamed on social media. It happened at a supermarket today. The suspect has been identified as Peyton Gendron. This is video from his arraignment earlier this evening. Police say he was wearing body armor and military-style clothing when he pulled up to Tops Friendly Market and opened fire, first in the parking lot and then inside of the store. He reportedly had the N-word written or etched on one of his weapons. And police say he posted a manifesto online filled with white supremacist ideology.
This was pure evil. It was straight up racially motivated hate crime from somebody outside of our community, outside of the city of good neighbors.
The store where the shooting took place is in a predominantly black neighborhood. 11 of the victims are black, 2 white. The FBI is investigating this shooting as a hate crime.
You know, it definitely is evil. It is very evil to actually drive 4 hours on a mission, or to drive 4 miles on a mission to kill people that have nothing to do with you. You're not in state of war. You're not in the military. You are killing innocent people based on your fear. Because based on what I read, he had some type of theory that he thought about, the replacement theory, stating that people of color, he feared people of color were going to replace white people. You know, and I talk about this, my urbanites. I talk about fear. And I come from the Word of God. The Word of God says, "For God did not give us the spirit of fear." So we know fear is a spirit, but power, love, and a sound mind. So if you are operating in fear, you're not operating in power. That means that you are debilitated in some way, shape, or form. All right? Now, this is the second one. It says that he didn't give us the spirit of fear, but power, love. Okay? If you operate in fear, the opposite of love is what? Hate. In fear, you hate something. I don't know what it is. If you fear snakes, you hate snakes. If you fear rats, you hate rats. If you fear Black people taking over, you hate Black people. And then the next one is fear. All right? Fear causes you not to have a sound mind, because that's the third, I would say, component to it. If God didn't give us the spirit of fear, but he gave us the spirit of power, love, and a sound mind, the opposite of having a sound mind is what? It's a depraved mind. You have to have a depraved mind to write this 180-page manifesto based on fear, and then drive 4 hours away. And then prior to that, do research to see where you're going to kill innocent people. You planned this out. It was so meditated, and it was all based on fear. Now, people have been talking about racism. Is racism a mental health condition? Well, it is not listed as a mental health condition. There is no one that has been diagnosed as being racist. However, listen to what I'm getting ready to say. However, the consequences of being in the fire line of a racist institution, the fire line of being in the presence of a racist person or an environment can cause a person to have a mental health condition. However, racism in and of itself alone is not a diagnosable condition. A psychiatrist, a licensed clinical social worker will not diagnose anyone as being racist. But again, if you are in an environment which you are confronted with racist attitudes day in and day out, it can create post-traumatic stress. Absolutely. It definitely can. It can create a mental health condition. But here's the thing. Do you remember when the gentleman shot people on the train in New York? They clearly did not want him labeled as having a mental health condition. They labeled it as a terrorist attack. When I know firsthand that he has a psychiatric disability. So here we are months later with this gentleman who actually was armed, shot people that he didn't know. And then in the video, it shows that he pointed a gun to a white person and he said, "Oh, sorry," moved the gun away from that person, and then went on to shoot and kill a Black person. This is really, really sad. It really is. And oftentimes you have these racist attitudes, these racist institutions, these racist individuals that this is all they know. And I talk about this when I talk about the bear effect. Beliefs expected as reality. BEAR. That your anxiety is heightened based on 3 data points. The first one is historical data. So say, for instance, this young man, he's going on something that perhaps, I don't know if it happened to him personally. That's the historical data. If something happened to you personally, and then you believe that all people or all things that perhaps attacked you are out to get you, that is your historical data. The second data point is the witnessed data. That's when you are in an environment, but the event did not happen to you per se, but you witnessed the event. So based on you witnessing the event, you are actually believing that, say for instance, all Blacks are trying to take over. Now for him, it looks as if this is a hear saw data, meaning that he read it somewhere. He got it from a third party information that Blacks are trying to take over. He saw it on the media. I don't know what media he's looking at, either social media or whatever. So in his mind, he has a false belief system based on the data that he internalized. And based on that data that he internalized, he then operated in fear. His anxiety was heightened, and he felt compelled to kill 11 people, as if killing 11 people would somehow stifle his thought that blacks are going to take over. Like it, man, I'm telling you, fear, when you operate in fear, it is really a debilitating spirit that would, again, have you drive 4 hours and kill innocent people. You don't operate out of a sound mind. Your mind is depraved, and it, at the end of the day, I'm speaking spiritually now, it is very evil and it's very demonic. It really is. And you know, it's very sad that these people, they just went to the grocery store to take care of their business. These are, you know, people's grandmothers, mothers, daughters, sisters. You know, that's why for me, it's always important to be prayed up, because you never know. And we saw this last week, Curtis, with Kevin Samuels. You never know how you're going to wake up or how you're going to end your day.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And I'm sure these people didn't expect their last moments to be at this local grocery store.
Absolutely.
In the middle of the day on a Saturday. I'm sure they didn't expect anything like that.
Not expected. That video was very haunting. And I agree that they pulled it, because I would be devastated if I saw my loved one, their last and final day was being cut down like that. So put up the picture of the people that have been arrested versus those have been murdered.
Okay. Got that right there.
All right. So I caught wind of this like yesterday. Someone posted this. And this is very troubling. And you see this right here, where you have a heavily armed person who was arrested, an unarmed black man who was murdered, a heavily armed white person who was arrested, versus an unarmed black woman who was murdered. This right here can create mental health conditions if you focus on it long enough, because what you focus on will grow. What you focus on will grow. So in this incident with Buffalo, he came out alive. We saw him in court without jail clothes on. He had, I guess, a medical exam cloth.
Yeah, they had like a little blouse, no shoes or anything.
No shoes, no anything. Trust me, if it had been turned around, whereas the party goers, this is my opinion, if the party goers were shot by the uninvited population, we would have seen a dead body. We've seen black dead bodies for less than that on the street. We've seen dead bodies when they run from the cops. We see dead bodies when, you know, they even tell the cop, I have a concealed handgun in my pocket or in my car or whatever. We see the result of that. And the result of that is them not being able to stand in front of the judge the next day after shooting someone. The result that we see in our community is them being in a coffin and then us protesting. But I'm going to tell you something. It will, this is my opinion, it will never change in our community when we are not owners. And when I say we're not owners, I mean when we don't economically own anything. When we don't own things in this country, people look at us as third world, third class. They look at us as what I call ourselves, the uninvited. And for you all that are not familiar with that terminology, the reason why I call us the uninvited, especially blacks, because we were not invited per se to this country. We were taken, we were stolen from another distant land to work and to build up so that the party goers can have a wonderful, fancy life. And when they have their parties, we are not invited. We are only invited when we have to make them look better, meaning when we have to build their houses, when we have to take care of their children, when we have to do these things to prompt them up. But at the end of the day, they see us as such, the uninvited. So this is really, so tonight we have former Newark Police Lieutenant, Mr. Rick Maldonado, who's going to assist us and kind of teach us how to de-escalate when we are encountered by the police. Now, I understand that the police are the professionals, but I understand also that police, they have their issues as well. They have a lot of mental health issues. They see a lot of things. They're in the war zone almost every single day, especially if they live in the urban community. LA PD, Newark PD, Washington, D.C. PD, Philly PD. I would not want my child, I would not want my husband as a police officer in a major city. I just wouldn't, because I wouldn't know if my husband or if my son or if my daughter is coming home. So I just want to bring up from behind the curtain former police officer Rick Maldonado, former Lieutenant Rick Maldonado, to the Urban Suite. And my Urbanites, I want you to give him a big welcome and thank you for coming into the Urban Suite with me. Thank you.
Thanks, Lisa. Thanks for having me.
Oh my gosh, thank you for coming. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, but let me just say two things.
Yes, please.
I love that segment that you do with missing persons. And it's something that I try to teach our students and it's called Patricia's Law. Because back in the day, if somebody wanted to do a missing person, they would say, oh, you got to wait 24 to 48 hours.
Yes.
That no longer exists. So that may be something that you want to put. It's called Patricia's Law. At any time you want to report someone missing, the law enforcement cannot take a report. They have to. And it's called Patricia's Law.
Patricia's Law. You got that, my Urbanites? Listen, Patricia's Law.
It's called
now, is that just in New Jersey or is that all over? Where is that? Is that
that's here in New Jersey.
That's here in New Jersey.
Yes,
all
ma'am.
Right. Patricia's Law. Awesome. All right. So discuss your background and experience as a police officer.
So I did 26 years in the Newark Police Department. I started in 1993. I retired May 1st of 2019. And if I had to do it all over again, I would do it all over again.
Wow.
I'm going to be honest with you. I'm born, raised, and I still live here in this great city of Newark where I was a lieutenant. And I love the community. I'm all about the community. And I try to give back to the community from the law enforcement side now to the private sector of, the security industry. And Newark Police taught me many, many things, because at the time when I was a police officer, we had all the projects here, all the big high rises, and they're no longer here. But, one thing I learned about the police department and living in this city and working for this great city is that you can't judge people if you've never been in their shoes.
Right.
And what police and the community and I say this wholeheartedly, our mayor's doing a great thing because he's a community activist and he's all about the community. But it has to start with what you learn at home. Yes. And me living in this city and growing up in this city and going to school in this city, I learned so much about the community that I was able to give back to the community as a police officer and now as me being retired.
So every day when you left your house, what did you prepare for? Like, how did you, because I like I said, I wouldn't want my son, my daughter, my husband, like, how did you brace yourself for that?
I'm gonna be honest with you. I felt like I was going to work. I never felt nervous going to work, even though it was a dangerous job, because I'm from this community. So when you're from this community, when you know the community you serve, there should not be no nervousness. You should not be nervous at all. You know, even when it comes to a traffic stop, even if it comes to you're arresting someone, you know, it's one thing I teach in when I teach the security professionals, and it's the truth. We're all one color, because if I cut myself or I cut you, we bleed red. So if you need a blood transfusion, you don't know who is it coming from. All you know is make sure that it's the same blood type. So you have to treat people with respect, because you just don't know.
Wow. Now you just said something about your class that you're teaching. Talk to us about the SORA class. What exactly is SORA? Like, what does that mean?
So SORA stands for Security Officer Registration Act.
Mm-hmm.
So in 2016, Governor Christie made this act, well, even further back, but he changed it over, that anyone who's going to become a security officer, and I don't like to use the word security guard. I use either security officer, but I teach my staff security professionals. Each and every one who wants to go into the security industry must have a security license that's governed by the state of New Jersey. So I am a security, or we call a SORA instructor, registered by the state police. So we have a curriculum that we teach all the officers, everyone who wants to become a security officer.
And what is your connection with Blessed Ministries Incorporated in doing that?
So, the American Firearm Academy has a great relationship with Blessed Ministries. And what we do is that any individual who comes from Blessed Ministries, we teach them how to become a security officer. We teach them how to become a security professional. We teach them the intricacies of what it is to become a security officer. And, you know, the security industry is the industry to be in right now, because like in 2020, it was a $24 billion industry.
Wow.
And I tell everybody this: before the police, before the fire, and before EMS is called, if there's a security officer, that's who's called. So you need to know how to handle that situation appropriately. So we go over, we have a very intense curriculum, and I try to teach them everything from my law enforcement background to now my security background on what to do when they're confronted with a situation.
Now, talk to us about community policing. Now, I grew up in Washington, D.C., born and raised in Washington, D.C. So the police officers, we had Officer Friendly, we had the side-by-side band, and the side-by-side band was composed of police officers, I believe other first responders, and they had a live band, and they would go around to different schools in DC and play and then talk about safety, stuff like that. So tell me about your experience about community policing.
So, the city, that I served as a law enforcement has 5 wards: north, south, east, and west. I worked in every ward. And, you need to understand the community that you're serving, that you're protecting. I'll give you an example. When I was a lieutenant in the South District, we get a call that, you have a group of individuals on the corner. Okay. So I would say, you know what? I give my unit number. I would go there and I will let the guys know, hey guys, listen, you can't be hanging out here. And, they try to give you a little bit like, why, what are we doing? But you get out of the car, you talk to them and say, listen, fellas, it's not that I want you to move. It's because you're causing a disturbance. You talk to them and they're like, okay, no problem, boss. Then what I do to follow up is, and I'll tell you the area. The area was Chadwick and Bergen. I will go back the next day and I will see them outside and they be playing, they take the TV out, sitting on the chair, and they playing video games. And I will get out of my car, say hello to them, and sit down with them and play video games with them, because they got to understand that yes, I'm a lieutenant in the Newark Police Department, but I'm still, I'm still a human being, and don't judge me because I'm wearing that uniform.
Right.
Judge me for who I am as a person.
Right.
And then that's why I've never had incidences that I had to worry about whether I worked in the South, the West, the North, the East, the Central. I never was afraid, whether it's midnights, weekends. I just didn't, because I felt that because I am the community, I live in the community, I was able to relate with the community.
And growing up in DC, that's how it was. We always had a respect and an appreciation for the police because they grew up in the school system. They knew my grandmother. They knew, it was really a community. They were from the community, and they made certain that they monitored the community. And we didn't have really many outsiders who didn't know Jimbo, who didn't know, Tyrone, who didn't know Ron Boy down the street. Everyone kind of knew one another, and it really felt good. I think what happened was when you start to bring in outsiders who have no attachment to the community, they didn't go to the school, there's no attachment, it's just a paycheck. And it's like, oh my gosh.
I totally agree.
Yeah, and it was like, oh my goodness. And I don't know how DC is now, but I know back then, that's how it was. So
I totally agree with that statement.
One of the things that we're here talking about de-escalation, some de-escalation techniques. So if you could describe some encounters, like say for instance, a traffic stop. If I'm stopped and I know I've been speeding and the cops stop me, what should I do? Like, what should my overall disposition be initially?
So we got to understand, and I use this catchphrase all the time, you get more with honey than you do with vinegar.
Right.
As when I was in the streets as a law enforcement officer, and I did the radars, one thing that I predicated on all my stops, I always used, I would say good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ma'am or sir. And that kind of takes that, how can I put it? Everybody has that fear when it comes to the police officer. So I try to dial it down so they can understand. And then, they will ask me, officer, why was I, why did you stop me? And I would tell them, I said, listen, I stopped you because of this, I said, and in the thousands of stops that I've had, I've never had a complaint because I always treated people the same way I wanted to be treated, with respect. Did they break the law? Yes. Did I give people breaks? Yes. Did I give people, a ticket? Yes. But there's a way, there's a way of doing it.
Right.
And I've never got a complaint because, you take that, everybody has a fear when they get stopped by the police. And I wanted to take that fear away because I never wanted the encounter to go any further than what the situation really was. And it was just a basic traffic stop.
Right. And I think the fear stems from, again, my bear effect, belief expected as reality. We don't know what's going to happen. We don't know the personality or the disposition of the police officer at that time. And then the fear is, oh my gosh, am I going to get points? What's going to happen? Sometimes I think the best route for me is just to pass out.
Yeah. And listen, a lot of times, just be honest.
Right.
Just be honest. You were speeding. That, maybe say your license is suspended. I'm just giving you scenarios.
Right.
Just be honest, because you're gonna get that. You're gonna get that officer. They're gonna be like, okay, no problem. I understand that, and you just never know. But it's a two-way street. Police need to understand, that you're already setting a fear into people because you're the stop, and then vice versa. It's a two-way street.
Right. Now, when you encounter domestic disputes, that's how do you deal with that?
Oof. So I was a commander of special victims. And, one thing I learned about domestics, you never want to victimize a victim twice. So you have to, you got to look at both sides of the spectrum, whoever it is, a man, a woman, woman, a woman, a man, a man, and you have to take everybody's statement, of the situation, and then you make a fair assessment. Just because one person looks a little, and when I'm saying a little different is like maybe assaulted, you don't know. Just because you were assaulted doesn't mean that you were the aggressor.
Right.
And we all have that intuition, and that's one thing I try to teach my officers. We all have that gut feeling. We all have that intuition. We have to harvest that, because you'll know someone who's not telling the truth because of the situation that they're in.
Right.
And officers that officers have to understand the community, because you just don't know. Just
Right.
because I live in a house doesn't mean that everything is peaches and cream with me. The same thing with somebody who lives in an apartment. You can't judge people just by the mere factor of where they live or how they look,
Right.
what sexual preference they you can't, because you just don't know, and you just never know how you make an impact on someone's life. I'll give you an example. I had a lady in our class, and I believe, if I remember correctly, she's from Blessed Ministries. And she was, she pulled me to the side and she was like, Rick, can I ask you a question? I said, sure. So she had a domestic, situation going on. And I said to her, well, what have you done about it? She said, well, I want to call the police. I said, okay, so why haven't you called the police? And then she started explaining the situation. And the one thing I said to her was this. I said, you got to remember, and I'm just going to be honest, God does not put anything in your hands that you can't handle. I said, if that's not, that situation's not right for you, you need to get out. And then, I asked her, talk to her, and I said, listen, one thing I do when I teach, I give them my business card. I said, just because the class is over doesn't mean our relationship stops.
Right.
So I tell them, you can reach out to me about anything, and if I can assist you in any way, shape, or form, I will. And she was so happy with that she gave me a hug, and it kind of warmed my heart, because I felt like I kind of tapped into something that she needed to tap into. Because not everybody knows how to handle a situation when it comes to domestic, because you just don't know if that's a systemic problem that they lived with for, since they were a child.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. And then how should we respond to someone that profiled us as being, unruly or whatever, and we had no intention? That wasn't our motive. We came to get pizza, and then they're saying that we are robbing the joint. Like, how do we?
We have to be better than those individuals who are profiling us. We cannot fall into that quicksand, and because even in 2022 we still have racial profiling, and it's terrible. It's terrible, but we just can't fall into that trap. If they racially profile us, we have to be better than them. We have to be more professional than they are, and just comply with whatever the officer is requesting. Because at the end of the day, and it's like I tell all my students, and I told people, when I was in the police department, there's cameras everywhere. And cameras do not lie.
That's right.
So if your actions, and some of these cameras don't have videos, audio, excuse me, but they have video. And if he shows that my demeanor was very calm, cool, and collective, when the officer or whatever the case may be puts pen to paper, there could be some discrepancy there, because we acted in a way, we comply, no problem. Here's my ID. They're gonna watch your hands. Okay, it's not a problem. I'm going to my wallet. My wallet is my rear pocket or in my front pocket. You got to have these. As we have to make not visible. What's the word I want to use? We have to let them know our commands, not only theirs, but our commands. We're going to say, listen, I'm going into my pocket. If you stop, I'm going into the glove compartment. And it's like I tell even our security professionals, if you're carrying a weapon, you know, and unless they ask you, do you have anything there? You have to be honest. You gotta let them know, yes, I have a gun. It's in the rear trunk. I'm a security, officer, armed, and you got to present your credentials to, to the police. You can't hide.
Right. Yeah. I have a question there for Mr. Maldonado there. Rick, how do you think the presence of so many cameras and camera phones have changed policing in the last 10, 15 years? Some of these incidents that we see on television now are because people have camera phones. But before, some of these same instances might have gone on and then just gone right under the rug because of what happens after that evidence is not collected and the person's story is not believed. But now this is somewhat of an equalizer. What do you think about that?
I love it. I love the cameras. Mm-hmm. When Newark PD was going over to the cameras, it went by, rank. And at the time that we had the cameras, I didn't have to wear a body camera. But I love them because, you know what? If an officer is right and someone is making allegation that the officer, assaulted them or verbally abused them, the camera's going to tell everything. And vice versa. If the officer's incorrect with their inappropriate with their behavior, it's going to manifest itself. I love the cameras. I tell all my students that there's cameras everywhere. And then more importantly, you got to act like a professional. Cameras do not lie.
That is true. That is true. Now, this is Mental Health Awareness Month, May. So there's something called Be Heard, and it's 911 Mental Health Emergency Alternative Response Pilot Project in New York.
Correct.
Do you think that they will adopt something like that here in New Jersey?
I will hope they do. Because, I currently work at University Hospital, the director of security there. So, I've learned a lot over the last 3 years that I've been there in reference to mental health. And you need someone who is clinically trained to identify an individual who may have mental health.
Right.
And when you have that individual with you, that clinical person with the police, I tend to believe that the encounters between the police and this individual will not go in the direction because police are not trained, but I believe they should. And I believe all officers should take mental health courses so they can identify some of the, they need to identify, these individuals and say, you know what, this person, and you have those buzzwords and, I know because I have mental health in my family. So I identify, with these individuals because I can see it. I've lived it. I live it now.
Right.
So you can understand, hey, listen, this person has this person has that. And I'm an advocate for it because you will see less encounters with police and individuals who have mental health. They shouldn't have to be arrested,
Right.
Maybe they just need to be taken to the hospital to get the help that they need.
Right. And then the Be Heard stands for the Behavioral Health Emergency Assistance Response Division. So that's BHEARD. Be Heard. All right, Mr. Maldonado, Rick, as you would prefer, I thank you so very much. Any last words that you would like to tell my urbanites?
Listen, I want to thank each and every one of you for allowing me to be on your show. And one thing that, the city of Newark is going through a beautiful change. And that's only going to happen as long as the community and the police come together and we can affect change. But we all have to do it, not some, all of us.
Yes. So thank you so very much. Thank you.
Thank you
for entering into the Urban Suite.
Love it.
Yes. And until next time, I will see you soon.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
All right. Okay, bye.
Bye.
Oh my goodness. I just got caught up in The Facts of Life. The Facts of Life. I used to love that show. What? Are you serious?
My bad.
I just...
What?
Well, Lisa, remember you were talking about pivoting. Hey, my urbanites, guess what? You have entered into the Urban Suite with Dr. Lisa LaCon. This has been an awesome year for me since we launched Urban Twos for Change Network, and I could not have done it without you.
What do you need me?
Thank you for everything that you have done, your prayers, your support, all of that.
Anything for you.
And I still have a ways to go, you guys. You guided me. You told me this is what you need to do. Very practical tips. She didn't say, well, do you have this? Do you have that? Do you need this? Do you have that? She's like, oh, you can do it. You got this.
Thank you so much for acknowledging that. That's so nice.
The stuff that they were saying is so relevant. It's so on point. They're so knowledgeable. So down to earth. Very practical tips.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
I just appreciate you all. Shout out, thank you for your support also.
It's my pleasure.
Let me slow down because I'm so excited. But he's always there behind the curtain. Always there behind the curtain. So I just want to say thank you so very much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Oh my goodness, so we're back. And if you did not have a chance to see Rick Maldonado, you will definitely have a chance because it's going to be YouTube. I'm on Facebook, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Facebook Podcasts. So if you don't get a chance to see them, you can hear me. I need you to like, I need you to share. Oh my goodness. So next up, we have another awful event in Orange, New Jersey that happened, I would say, about a week and a half ago. So bring that clip up for me.
Also tonight, 150 residents are looking for a place to stay after a huge fire spread through an apartment complex in Orange, New Jersey. Citizen video shows flames coming from the 82-unit building. This is Park Avenue and High Street. Early this morning, the Red Cross has set up a shelter at Lincoln Avenue Elementary School to help people who just can't go back home. Police say no one was injured. The cause of the fire is being investigated.
Wow. So the cause of the fire is being investigated. So many people were displaced. So right now, I would like to bring out my pastor of St. Matthew AME Church. Let's see. I see the dark screen, so he's not there quite yet. But we're going to talk about what St. Matthew AME is doing for the residents of Orange, because it happened in the same ward as St. Matthew AME. And if the pastor doesn't come on at this point, I do have some things, some highlights that I'm very familiar with, what the church has been doing. Because let me tell you, and maybe this is a good thing that the pastor's not here yet, actually my pastor. People are always talking about tithes and offerings. Where did the tithes go? Where did the offerings go? Well, I'm here to tell you this is a perfect example of sowing into the church. Perfect example. So I see my pastor is up and he's right behind the curtain. So we're going to bring out my pastor, Reverend Melvin E. Wilson of St. Matthew AME in Orange, New Jersey. Thank you, Pastor.
Thank you, Lisa. Thank you for having me.
Man, thank you.
Click the right thing to get on.
Sweet.
My pleasure.
Oh, thank you. So we just saw the news clip about the fire in Orange, and that was maybe one of a couple of fires, but that particular one, tell me about what St. Matthew AME is doing to assist its residents and perhaps some congregants of the church.
Well, first of all, Lisa, thank you. Appreciate this opportunity to share. We are so proud of you and your education accomplishments, and proud of this podcast and everything that you and Sean are doing to the broader community. 2 weeks ago tomorrow, there was a fire 2 weeks ago today, there was a fire in Orange, as you showed. And I was called actually that morning. The alarms went off at about 2 a.m. that Tuesday morning. I'm pleased to serve as the fire chaplain for the Orange Fire Department. And I get all of the alarms whenever an alarm goes off. I determine whether or not I should go as the chaplain. This one kept going off. And when it went to 3 alarms and then the 4 alarms, I said, maybe I need to follow up on this because it sounds like a big one. So I stayed in until early that morning, and then the chief called me and told me what happened. So I immediately went over. Me and Reverend Leslie went over to assess what was going on. Concurrently with that, the mayor called and asked if St. Matthew was willing to house some of the survivors from the fire. And, without question, I said, absolutely. He said, all right, we'll send a team over from the Red Cross to look at the church and to see what we can do. The team came over and determined that we actually did not have enough space for the number of people who had been affected by the fire. So I said, okay, well, keep me in the loop, whatever you need, the church is here. About 5 days later, the mayor called me back again. The victims had gone to Lincoln Avenue School, but because the school was going to be used for, I believe, state testing, the survivors had to relocate. So the mayor called me again and said, well, is St. Matthew still available? I said, the church has always been available. And by this time, the numbers of persons had decreased because several went with friends and family. So I said, bring them over. So the Red Cross came over and basically handed off the process over to the city and to the church. And we had a 12 o'clock logistical meeting on last Monday, the 9th. And at 3 o'clock, the residents started showing up. Red Cross brought in their supplies. City brought in certain supplies, cots and things. I marshaled the congregation. And as you know, I send out texts and WhatsApp messages and emails all the time, kind of keeping folk up to date with what's going on. Well, the church just kind of stepped up and in partnership with the city, tried to make those guests, and we intentionally refer to them as guests, not as those people.
Right.
We intentionally refer to them as guests. We tried to make those the guests as comfortable as possible given the situation we were in. So approximately 26 people came, families. I was listening to your conversation earlier. We had young people, children, autistic children. We had persons who spoke different languages. I mean, it was really something. When the mayor asked me about persons coming, I said, sure, they can come. I said, we have bathrooms, but we don't have shower facilities. What are we going to do? And he said, well, we'll have to figure it out. So as God would have it, we had started having conversations a few months ago with an organization called Power Changes Lives. And they had debuted into Essex County a mobile shower unit that has 3 showers. This is a part of their homeless outreach program. Has 3 showers, toilets, has a washer and dryer, has a room for hair cutting, etc. They have literally just did the ribbon cutting on it at the end of March and have used it one time. So the day before Mother's Day, once the mayor called me, I called the president of the organization because we've been talking about putting that unit at St. Matthew so that homeless and unsheltered residents can come on a regular basis to get showers as a position of dignity. So I called her up. She was out of town, but she took my call. I said, listen, this is what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Can we use your shower unit? And she said, without hesitation, absolutely.
Wow.
So Mother's Day afternoon, they brought it over to the church, as you can see. Trustees were there. We had to learn how to work it, had to get a crash course and learn how to work it, because you just can't like walk into it.
Right.
We had to hook it up to water and learn how to start the generator. And it had to have gas, different kinds of gas. I mean, it's a sophisticated unit. And we learned, and so that when the people came on Monday, our guests came on Monday, we were able to say, not only do you have a safe place to sleep, but you will be able to take a hot shower. And some of our guests said that this was the first hot shower they had in a week.
Wow. Oh my gosh.
We also work with the city to put together, regular meals for our guests. The Red Cross provided cots and blankets, and, we said, no, that's not enough. So we went out and bought pillows and sheets. And we had members who came through every day to wash. We had to buy washcloths and towels and toiletries and everything for our guests. So we really just tried to partner with the city to step up. I mean, the church institutionally, we talk about, doing all these things. We read all these scriptures and preach all these sermons and da-da-da-da-da-da. But we've embraced the notion at St. Matthew, let's not talk about it, let's be about it.
That is correct.
So we tried to be about it, and that's what we've been doing. And our guests have been with us since May the 9th.
Oh, wow.
Our guests were supposed to be gone by yesterday. The city asked us to extend their stay until tomorrow.
Okay.
So it looks like by tomorrow, all of our guests will be moved out and relocated to either temporary housing or housing that they found on their own.
Wow. Now, are you in need of donations?
Well, what we've said to people is we've had all kinds of calls from people asking about donations of clothes, food, etc. And we've said, well, no, because our guests don't have anywhere to put it. If you give clothes and substantive things, there's nowhere for them to put them. We don't have storage. Some persons have sent funds to the church, and we've made sure that those funds have gone right to the residents and right to our guests. So, I mean, we'll never, turn away donations, but we are not necessarily soliciting donations. But if persons do send funds, they will be directly sent to our guests.
Right. Now, Felicia Jackson, she said, that is awesome. Thanks for being a blessing. I have to say thank you for being a blessing. Oh, my goodness. Because not only are they dealing with not having a home, they're also have to have like some mental health consequences that they're dealing with and struggling with. How is the church or the city addressing that aspect?
Well, I raised that with the city, and my understanding is that the city does have mental health services in place. What's so interesting is that on that very first night that the guests came, a lady pulled me aside and said, Pastor, I feel like I'm going to have a nervous breakdown. I can't stay here. My mom just died. I'm trying to plan a funeral. I can't get into my apartment. I mean, she was just rattling off her experience. And this was literally within the first 2 or 3 hours of our guests being present. And I certainly sat with her, listened to her, validated her feelings, prayed with her, and promised to make sure that the city at that moment would provide the wraparound services needed. I mean, it was literally, we were building the plane while we were flying it, literally.
Wow, yes.
Because as I come to understand, the Red Cross is able to do limited amount of time in a disaster crisis experience. So they almost, it appeared to me, kind of literally handed it off to the city, and the city has emergency management personnel and whatnot, but I don't know that the city has ever done a sheltering situation.
Right.
So all they asked us for was the space, but of course, at St. Matthew, we're just not going to let you come in and we be a part of helping the thing to be better. So that's why, I solicited our congregants and said, listen, this is what I think we can do to help, in touch with the mayor, in touch with the chief of staff, in touch with those persons in city government, to make sure that we were being of assistance to them. We wasn't trying to run it, we wasn't trying to take over, but we were just trying to under the one of our core values of radical hospitality, of just trying to make sure that all of our guests, no matter who they are, felt at home. We extended everything we had, every service, every opportunity, anything we could do to make our guests feel at home. That's what we tried to do.
I love that, radical hospitality. That is it, radical hospitality. Oh my goodness. So Pastor, you're going to keep us abreast of what is going to happen with the residents and with Orange. I'm going to invite you back in the Urban Suite. And I just want to say thank you so very much. God bless you. Y'all, that's my pastor. That's my pastor. Yeah. Pastor, thank you so very much. Thank you for all you have done. The congregants, St. Matthew AME. Oh my goodness. I'm so proud to say that St. Matthew AME is my church and you are my pastor. Thank you.
Proud of you.
Amen. Oh, God bless you, guys. All right. Thank you, Pastor. All right.
God bless.
All right, you too. Oh my goodness. That is I'm so proud. Listen, like I said, we need to highlight more stories like that when it comes to the church, because we're always focused on pastors stealing money behind the wall of a toilet. Yes, that did happen, unfortunately, in one big church, a mega church in Texas. But anyway, so we need to highlight and focus on things like this. So I'm telling you, this is incredible. It really is. Did you realize that, Curtis, what my church was doing, all of that?
No, that's great. That's great that they were able to be a service to the community, especially when, like you said, some people question, like when a lot of these churches are getting very political, what are they doing to actually help the community?
Right.
So I said you contributed to the discourse out here politically, but when people are in need, where does all that tithe money go? And like,
there you go. The tithes, the offerings. I have to say, he said 2 words: radical hospitality, and that's what the congregants have. Yes, and then which comes said Felicia said Joe Osteen.
Yeah, he was the one that had. Yeah, he was the one.
Money behind the wall, behind the toilet.
Right. They was doing something. It was a lot of money too. It wasn't a little bit of money.
It was a lot of money. It wasn't like $500.
No, it was thousands.
It was thousands of dollars.
That they thought they lost.
That kind of went under the radar.
Yeah, they thought. Well, they said they thought they lost it.
Yeah. Okay. All right. But yeah, this is what we're doing at St. Matthew AME in Orange, New Jersey. What do we have up next, Curtis?
We just have one more break, and then we'll come back with one last story before we go out of here.
Oh, yes. Oh, my goodness. Yes.
This will be fun when we come back, though.
Yes. So I want to flip the script. Like, how did that happen?
How did that happen? Where's the time go?
I want to flip the script. No. That is very scary to me.
That was scary.
Smack dab in the middle of the urban community. Put that in your mental note. So you can get a picture in your head. You don't know what they're thinking. And it's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy.
More than enough.
You sure, bro?
You hear did you hear me?
Say that again. I don't think I heard you.
I heard you.
You're gonna have more than enough peace when you walk in being meek.
Tell me you're sure about this.
The ABCs of life.
The facts of life. The facts of life.
So this is our final wrap up for the Urban Suite tonight. So this is according to NBC News. Top defense officials say government received about 400 reports of UFOs, you guys. 400 reports of UFOs. They are out here. And let me tell you about UFOs and alien invasions. They're not racist. They think all of us are goners. They want to. They're not racist. They're not saying, I'm going to tap that one because that one's black. I'm going to tap that one because that one's Asian. They all look at us as, to them, alien beings. But at the end of the day, they have something up on us. And I guess this just based on the movies, that they don't see us as different colors. They don't see us as different shades. They just see us, as Rick Maldonado said, we all have blood running through our bodies. So we have these UFOs, spottings, because people do believe that there are aliens out there.
Well, the government had a big meeting of a big Congress meeting
They had
about
a
it today.
huge conference in 50 years. It says a pair of officials from the Department of Defense testified before a House Intelligence Subcommittee at the first public congressional hearing on UFOs in more than 50 years. Yes, I'm telling you, they're out there. Yes, yes, yes.
Well, right before we could get out, there was somebody actually that was joining in that wanted to just send congratulations to y'all pastor.
Oh, yes, that's our guy. He leads our, yes, he leads our pastor. Absolutely, absolutely. And I'm telling you, these things are important because when you're confronted with such travesty, when you're confronted with things like that can affect your mental health, you need to see the presence of God here and now, not just in the heavens, but you have to see it here and now, a little heaven on earth. And this is what life is about. Yes, you have your evildoers like that 18-year-old, but guess what? You have people like Pastor, and we need to focus on people like that so that we don't think that everybody's evil, everybody's greedy, everybody's lustful. The truth of the matter is they are not. And that is an urban tool for change, walking in love, walking in humility, having radical hospitality. That's an urban tool. And I'm telling you, and even the tips that Rick Maldonado gave.
I was going to say that. Yeah.
Yes, those are urban tools.
Respect. Yeah, he respected the people and don't judge people by the way he perceived them or how they look.
Yes, absolutely.
The same way they don't want him to be treated just like, oh, he's just some cop that's going to do whatever to me. He's from the community, so that's what he was trying to express too. So shout out to Rick Maldonado.
Absolutely. And let me tell you, you cannot judge a book by its cover. I know people judge me and they are very surprised when they find out who I am, that I have a degree. They look at me as this Black female with a mohawk. Yes, I got a little mohawk. With a little mohawk. And they're like, oh my gosh, she must be whatever, whatever, whatever. But I don't carry my PhD. I don't carry my business ownership. I don't carry that on my sleeve. I like people to present themselves in their authentic self based on who they think I am. I hope you got that, because I cannot repeat that. Did you get that?
Yeah, but they're gonna judge you different on your voice tonight, though.
Oh, I
don't think
know.
I recognize you from your voice. You sound different.
I know. I do sound different. And then I fell into the trap of judging someone, you know, based on what they looked like. And they were the nicest I initially thought they were snooty.
Mm-hmm.
I thought they were stuck up initially, just based on face value, based on how they were dressed. And then I ended up having a ball with them, ended up talking with them for almost an hour, just laughing. And you just can't judge a book by its cover. You
Right.
just can't. And on that note, next week in the Urban Suite, I'm going to talk about histrionic personality disorder.
Wow.
Yes.
That's a mouthful right there.
Yes. HPD, histrionic personality disorder. You don't want to miss that.
Yes.
You don't want to miss that. This is Mental Health Awareness Month, and it's a part of a mental health condition that people have, and they may not know that they have it. So we're going to talk about that next week. And I want to say thank you, my Urbanites, for entering into the Urban Suite with me, Dr. Lisa LaCon. God bless. Stay safe. Molly, take us away.